The family I nanny for has a hand signal for danger, and the kids used it when their uncle came to pick them up. The doorbell rang at 4:15 on a Thursday afternoon while I was helping 7-year-old Chloe with her spelling homework, and her brother Ethan was building a tower with blocks on the living room floor. I'd been working for the Brennan family for 5 months, caring for the kids every weekday from 3 when they got home from school until 7 when their mother Julia arrived from her job as a nurse at County Hospital. The kids were sweet and well-behaved, and Julia was organized and appreciative, always leaving detailed notes about schedules and emergency contacts. But there was an underlying tension in the house I'd noticed from day one, a hypervigilance in how Julia triple-checked locks and asked me to text her photos of the kids every hour. When I'd asked about it during my interview, she'd explained vaguely that they'd had some family troubles, and she needed to know her children were safe. Then she taught me the hand signal. If either child ever touched their left ear with their right hand crossing over their head, it meant they felt unsafe and needed help but couldn't say it out loud. She'd made me practice recognizing it and promised to explain more when the time was right. That time apparently arrived when I opened the front door and found a man in his 30s with sandy hair and a friendly smile saying he was Julia's brother coming to pick up the kids. He introduced himself as Ryan Brennan and explained that Julia had asked him to get Chloe and Ethan because she'd been called into an emergency surgery and wouldn't be home until late. He apologized for the short notice and said Julia had tried calling me, but my phone must have been on silent. I immediately checked my phone and saw no missed calls, which made my stomach tighten with the first hint of concern. Ryan seemed to notice my hesitation and pulled out his driver's license showing his name matched what he'd told me, then showed me a text message thread with someone listed as Jules, where she'd supposedly asked him to pick up the kids. The text looked legitimate, and his explanation was reasonable, but something felt wrong in a way I couldn't articulate. I told him to wait a moment while I checked with the kids, and he smiled patiently and said, of course, family safety was important. I walked back into the living room where Chloe and Ethan had both stopped what they were doing, and were staring toward the front door with expressions I couldn't quite read. I asked if they knew their Uncle Ryan, and both nodded slowly. Then Chloe reached up with her right hand and touched her left ear, the movement deliberate and unmistakable. My heart started pounding immediately because Julia had been clear that this signal meant genuine danger, not just discomfort or shyness. Ethan was 5 and sometimes copied his sister, but he made the same gesture independently, his small hand reaching across his face to tap his ear 3 times. Both children were giving me the danger signal about their own uncle, and I had maybe 30 seconds to decide what to do before Ryan would expect me to bring them to the door. I forced my expression to stay neutral and told the kids in a bright, casual voice to keep playing for just a minute while I talked to their uncle. Then I walked back to the door and told Ryan through the screen that I needed to verify with Julia directly before releasing the children to anyone, which was household policy. Ryan's friendly expression flickered for just a moment before resetting to patient understanding. He said that made sense and he'd wait right here while I called Julia, pulling out his phone to check messages. I closed the front door and locked it, then immediately called Julia's cell phone with shaking hands. It rang 4 times before going to voicemail, which was unusual because she always answered when I called during work hours, knowing it would be about the kids. I tried the hospital directly and asked to page Julia Brennan in surgery. The operator said there was no Julia Brennan on staff in the surgical unit and checked the schedule showing she wasn't working today at all. My blood went cold as I realized Ryan had lied about the emergency surgery. I tried Julia's phone 3 more times while watching Ryan through the front window. He was pacing on the porch and checking his watch, his body language shifting from patient to agitated. On the 4th attempt, Julia answered breathless and panicked, saying she was in her car and what was wrong. I told her quickly that someone claiming to be her brother Ryan was at the house trying to pick up the kids, that I'd verified she wasn't at the hospital, and that both children had used the hand signal. Julia made a sound between a gasp and a sob and told me not to let him anywhere near the kids, that she was calling the police immediately and was 20 minutes away. She said Ryan wasn't actually her brother. He was her ex-husband's brother, and there was a custody order prohibiting anyone from his family from contact with the children. She said she'd explain everything when she got there, but I needed to keep the doors locked and keep the kids away from windows. Ryan must have heard my voice getting louder through the door because he started knocking hard, but what happened next changed everything. To see the full story, click the link below or go on my channel.